Hello again. This is my second video. On today's video, I want to go over my theory of the mind. Uh, I want to try to understand how it is that people function. That is, I'm interested in understanding why it is that sometimes when you have a conversation with somebody and you tell them something that's factually correct, they don't always agree with what you say. In fact, sometimes they strongly disagree with what you say, even though you can show them the facts of the matter don't agree with what they have to say. The reason why I'm interested in that is because I want to understand how my mind works. Because I want to understand why it is that how it is that if I'm faced with facts, I don't always change my behavior to fit the facts. The other reason why I really want to understand how the mind works is it's because I'm sick and tired of being played by other people. I don't like being played. Do you like being played, nephew, niece? So I want to figure out, I want to understand how this actually happens. So I'm going to share with you my theory of the mind and how it works. But I want to preface it with something that should be pretty clear to you, if it isn't already obvious. I'm not a psychologist. I am not a I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not any kind of brain researcher. I don't know all the parts of the brain. I don't know how they all function. Um, but I do have 6 years of observations from over 4,000 hours of human behavior to rely on to make some observations and some inferences as to how the mind works. So here I go. My model is relatively simple-minded because, well, that's how I roll. I tend to be very simple-minded. My model is you have two brains. One brain, which is what I refer to as your mammal brain, and the other brain I refer to as your reptile brain. Now, I'm not talking about left brain, right brain. That's not what I'm talking about at all. I'm talking about the reptile brain, or what I call the reptile brain, is the part of your brain that deals with stuff like keeping your body warm, keeping your heart beating, telling your lungs to breathe. When you feel hungry or tired or angry or sad or any kind of emotion, that's the reptile brain in action. It's the part that does most of the work inside your head. The mammal brain is the part of the brain that I believe deals with logic. That is, for example, if you're hungry, that's the reptile brain telling you, I'm hungry, I want to eat. The mammal brain doesn't know anything about hunger. It doesn't experience the hunger. It can't tell you what you want to eat. Your reptile brain does that. What it does for you, however, is tell you how to get what you want. So the mammal brain would be the one that does okay, this is where I am in the world. This is what I want to eat. What do I got to do to get from where I am to where I want to be with the food that I want to eat? Okay? All right. So why the distinction? Well, it's not a coincidence that I call it the mammal brain because I've observed how boatload of, I'm sure you've done this well, going to the zoo, for example, or just having a pet, a dog or a cat or some other mammal. All the mammal species, they don't all act the same, but they do have some general characteristics. With the ability to think some things through, although it's kind of clear that most of the other mammal species are nowhere as good as you are at thinking things through. But the reptile brain, the hunger and the feelings, The reason why I call that the reptile brain is well, because reptiles also get hungry. They also got to eat and drink. They also get tired. So it's that commonality that says that they have a brain that does that. Uh, at the end of this video, I'm going to point out some of the consequences of my observations about the separation of the mammal and reptile brain. But before I go any further, okay, uh, I don't want to make you angry. Uh, I just want you to remember I'm a simple-minded guy with a simple-minded model trying to see how well it fits reality. If you are a specialist, if you are a psychologist or psychiatrist or brain surgeon or brain behaviorist or whatever you have, I don't want to get you mad. What I'm trying to do is just trying to understand the world, and this is how I'm doing it. So, what are some of the consequences of the split? Well, the first one is, if I'm right about this model, then I have to admit, whether I like it or not, that reptiles have feelings, which means that all those people who have pet lizards or pet snakes, who I normally would have said, you guys have rocks in your head, that's a foolish thing to do for having a pet like that. I owe you guys a deep and sincere apology. If there's a fool in the room, that fool would be me, because I was ignorant of how the mind works. Second consequence of this model of mammal and reptile brain is, well, if you have two brains, which one is in charge? I mean, they can't both be in charge. One of them's got to be the one to talk to the other and tell it what to do. I would hope that the mammal brain is the one in charge for mammals and people in particular. But I've seen a lot of behavior that says that's just not true. The reptile brain is the one that's in charge. And the consequence of that is that, as I said before at the beginning of this video, I've seen people, when presented with facts that disagree with their feelings, with their belief system in their heads, rather than allowing their mammal brains to see these facts, the reptile brain just rejects the information out of hand and shuts down the person's mammal brain so they can't see the information. Which means that when I'm having a discussion with somebody and I'm trying to convince them of something, if that something does not agree with their belief system, not only am I wasting my time, I am wasting their time. I'm just aggravating a person without a good reason. I also want to point out, by the way, that this also applies to me, because I too have a mammal and a reptile brain, which means that if somebody tries to convince me of something and that information disagrees with my belief system, I'm going to shut down my mammal brain and not see the point. Now, this is the paradox for me. It's like a blind spot. What is the information that I won't accept? Well, I can't see that because my reptile brain won't allow me to see that. All right, so the rest of this video, I'm going to show you some example clips of what I call reptile brain behavior. It's going to be some examples from animals and also from people that I want you to see, and maybe you'll see the point that I'm after, and maybe you won't. I can say that this video is going to be too long. It's to show you everything, so this is going to be part one of my video. A secondary part video I'll make would be about how the mammal brain behaves and how the interaction between the mammal and the brain works. So I'm going to pause here, and I'm going to start insert into my video some examples with commentary that I hopefully you'll find useful. So let's see here. Now if I hit this first clip, I want you to see how the reptile brain's reflexes work. This is a clip from a video of a prank done on some monkeys and some dogs. And I want you to see how fast the reptile brain reacts to information that is potentially life-threatening.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
The second clip is a young man who is having an emotional reaction to an invited speaker. I'm not interested in whether he's right or wrong. I'm only interested in the reaction of his reptile brain to the information that he's been provided for.
You don't belong here! Get the off this campus! Get off! Get off! You don't belong here! You don't belong here, you genocidal maniac!
For the third clip, I want you to see an actual reptile in action. I want you to compare the behavior of this reptile versus how a dog might respond. And I want you to see if whether or not you see a similarity in behavior between the two.
Come on, buddy. 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 Come on, buddy.
After seeing that clip, I hope that you can see how I feel foolish for doubting pet owners of lizards and snakes. In the next example of reptile brain behavior, we see a dog react to a human being who appears to be sad. Why are dogs sympathetic to humans is what I want to know. This next clip comes from a comedy skit of Mr. Joe Rogan, in which he compares the behavior of men versus women when it comes to criticism. What I want you to observe is the reptile brain of the women's reaction to criticism. And I would like to know, why is it that men and women's reptile brains have different instincts when it comes to criticism?
Right? But if I say anything even remotely critical about women, people will get really mad. Watch. Ladies, I love you. You're some of my favorite people. But let's be honest. You don't invent a lot of shit. Woo! Feel that? Yeah!
In this next clip, Mr. Kevin Samuels is interviewing a woman who wants to be a wife. What I'd like you to pick up on are two things. See if you can spot when her reptile brain rejects information that Mr. Samuels is providing her. And the second thing I want you to pay attention to is can you spot how this woman's her desires are not the same as her mother's and grandmother's. I would like to know why that is.
My father was never involved.
Okay. What did your grandmother do for a living?
She was also a nurse.
What did your grandfather do for a living?
He was not involved either.
Were you raised to be a stay-at-home wife?
I'm sorry?
Were you raised to be a wife?
Well, what it sounds like is, it sounds, from what I just said, it sounds like I was raised to be a single mother, but that's not what I want.
That's not